Thanks, John. First of all, great game this last weekend, and really a program win, I think, when you look at the nature of Oregon's program and where we're headed. But I want to thank, first of all, our students for coming out, the fans. I mean, it was a tremendous environment. Our game day management and operations people did an outstanding job just in terms of all the things that go into putting on a football game like this. And I think what we got to all realize, though, is this was the first home game, step one, and we've got 10 more games to go. So we got to keep pushing forward, and that would be to our players and everybody else involved in the program. So it's the first game here at Spartan Stadium. We go to play, have an opportunity to play Air Force as they come into Spartan Stadium. This will be the first time that an academy has come to Spartan Stadium, from what I understand. Have a lot of respect for Coach Calhoun and what they've accomplished there. 10 wins last season. And when you look at them offensively and defensively, you see really what you see is highly motivated people that are quick-bodied, that are playing the game extremely hard, tough, very difficult to prepare for. You have to shift gears from going to an offense like Oregon to going to against an offense such as Air Force. A lot of different scenarios involved there with option football. Defensively, very impressive. A lot of 3-4 type personnel and settings, but they're attacking type defense. And Weston Steelhammer is a safety that is an excellent safety, is on the Jim Thorpe Award winner list, so watch list. So I'll take some questions right now, and we'll go from there. But I've been very impressed with the Air Force and their program for quite a while, and I've always watched and sat back and watched them from afar.
Mark, obviously the academies recruit considerably different. They're not going to necessarily get skilled players that other places don't get, but they, because of the type of young man they recruit, future heroes, warriors, that type of stuff, it's a different type of player, more mature maybe. How do you approach a team like that where you got a different kind of person on the other side of the ball?
Well, I think first of all you have to do is recognize just what you're saying, highly motivated people. When you read their personal backgrounds, on quite a few, especially the guys that are juniors and seniors, it says completed survival training July of 2013 or June of 2013. And, when you're doing things like that, you're used to being in situations that are highly competitive. So, and that's what you see. I think they're athletic on defense. I think they're quick-bodied on defense. I see skill on the defensive side of the ball. I see it on the offensive side of the ball. Same type of skill level in terms of cutting people. You got to stay up on your feet. They present a lot of problems in terms of, discipline. Who has who on the options and things of that nature. So all these type of things, and you got to break them down and divide them, and it's a whole different way of practicing against them. And really, we started practicing against them last spring. I think it's a tough game. It's a tough draw for Michigan State because of this is something that we have not experienced here. We've played option football before, but not to this level. They present other problems with the no-huddle offense and then also using different normal power and things of that nature, combining those aspects as well. So difficult team to prepare for. Very well coached. Ron Burton comes from there, our defensive line coach, where he was there for 11 years. Richard Bell, who was my defensive coordinator at South Carolina when I played there, was a long-time defensive coordinator there. No longer there, is retired, but you can see his footprint on their defense as well. But an impressive program, won a lot of football games and plays at a very high, I think they play at a very high level.
Mark, the running back situation, it seems kind of getting narrowed a little bit to Madre and LJ. And I know you like to go with the hot back, but going into a game, do you have kind of a plan to start with on who's going to get certain series and then go from there? Or how do you see that shaking out with those guys?
I allow our coaches, I ask our coaches how we're going to play the players, and I listen to them. They spend their time with them in the meetings. They spend their time with them watching practices. So it's a pretty fluid situation because I think we do have four. and any one of those four could really become the guy. But this last week I thought both those guys played pretty well. They both had significant amount of carries, and it's just hard to split carries with three backs, quite honestly. But we'll ride the hot guy. There's no question about that. And when I figure out who the hot guy is, I usually say get that guy in there at some point. But I think it's a great situation that we have right now. All those guys are big. They're physical. They run hard, and they're great people.
Coach, you brought up the cut blocking. There's been articles in the last few years. The service academies use that. It's somewhat of an equalizer, perhaps, because they're not as big. How concerned are you about injuries? There have been injuries that can occur when cut blocking takes place.
Well, yeah, you're always concerned, but that's football. And that's why we've worked on these things, every other day in summer practice. We've had this past summer, summer camp here, we've had Air Force periods or individual periods dedicated to cut blocking. But I don't think there's any question you got to be able to stay on your feet and get off blocks. But they're going to work, especially the backside cuts and things of that nature, inline cutting, which everybody does, even in zone teams, etc. But they do it at a little bit higher level. They'll split you out with their offensive line splits. It's just a whole different dynamic, I think, relative to offensive football.
And then just to follow up, you mentioned Ron Burton. Can you put into perspective just how much of an advantage it is to have a guy like Ron on your staff that's seen it and is well-versed in it as he is?
Huge advantage. Coach Burton is, first of all, he gives us an accurate scouting report on each and every player if they're juniors or seniors. So he was either recruiting guys and had a feel for them, or they were playing on the football team when we were younger. So that's a tremendous advantage. Secondly, he's been in that culture. He understands the culture, how they practice, the drills they work on, what has to happen for us to be successful on the defensive side of the ball. But he was there for 11 years, and I think that, he understands the mindset, the tempo that goes with playing there and goes with actually attending there.
Mark, you've talked a few times about the crowd Saturday night. Now, the game and the opponent helped dictate that. It was kind of neat to see everyone stay to the bitter end, which was an issue last year. How do you can't be a cheerleader for the crowd, but how do you keep them engaged? Because you're in games like this and every game, because your team does seem to feed off that energy.
Yeah, I think every football team does. They feed off the crowd, but I think winning helps. Winning certainly helps, and if you want to be part of something special, then you stay, and you stay to the end. And usually, you become a more passionate fan. The more passionate you are, the longer you stay. But I also understand that people have lives, so I'm always appreciative of the people that are there and appreciative of the people who stay and be a part of this. But I don't think there's any question that fans get themselves ready for games as well. And I thought our fan base got themselves ready Saturday night for a great football game. I thought it was a great football game, and it went down to the very end. So they saw a great game, and they saw a game that probably will stick out in Spartan history for a time anyway. So be a part of that and to be a part of a season. But the more passionate you are as a fan, the longer you stay probably. So we're building that base, continuing.
Mark, Aaron Burbridge for a couple of years has talked about that he gets it, but certainly it looks like he's getting it more now. Was he capable of this a year ago and just behind Tony, or are you seeing things that are different now? And what's the benefit of what he's doing for the offense overall?
Aaron has always been a tremendous football player. He's had some injury problems in the past, but he played as a true freshman for us, had a great freshman year. His sophomore year probably took a little bit of a step back, maybe, and that would have been 13 a little bit. But I think he was injured, as I remember, a little bit in that year. But he's always been a guy that is rotated in, and just I've always thought of him as a starter here and a go-to guy. He's just getting the ball thrown to him maybe a little bit more because he's at the X position some. But he's able to go around and play any of those positions, so we can move him in and out of different formations. Well, I think he's becoming, you got to have if we're going to have a great year, our seniors got to have their best year. I say it all the time. And I think as a senior right now, he's having his best year. And that's got to happen with a lot of players. But the benefit of him catching balls and being, he's got a lot of 50-50 catches, as I say. He's a great receiver, and he's doing something run after catch. So he's an exciting player to watch, and it benefits not only this program, but him in general as a football player and his future. But he's always had that ability. I mean, coming out of high school, he was, I believe he was the top player in Michigan, I think, that year. Outstanding player.
Mark, you talked a lot before last season about being the hunted and learning how to play as the hunted. Have you seen your players kind of get more accustomed to that over the last year, and how important is that going forward, being the top 5?
I think we've played in big games. I think we've played when we've been favored, played when we've been not favored as well. So I think our players, I've said this before, I think our chemistry creates the culture here of energy. And our seniors have done a great job here of looking at things and being mature in terms of how they approach things. And so you sort of get, coaches can talk all they want, but if your seniors recognize the situation that they're in and can basically relay that to the rest of their football team, I think good things sort of happen. So we've taken a mature outlook. We understand that the bottom can fall out on whatever you're doing at any point in time. That's the way football is. You look across the country, and you see that happening. And so we need to guard against those things, and we always need to play to our utmost ability. That's all I care about. Play as hard as you can play and do the very best you can play and come prepared. If we do that, things usually work out. If you don't, things usually don't. And we just always want to be thought of as a program that's overachieving from within. So regardless of what standard of player you are or status that you have, you need to try and continue to go beyond that.
Mark, a lot was made of the recruiting event last week. I'm just wondering, from your perspective, what was it like for you? Was it different for you with so many guys around? And what was the routine like for you? How did you try to, make yourself available and things like that?
Well, we've had other really big games here, and we've had a lot of recruits on campus in the past, and Curtis Blackwell and Ryan Mantelak, and that recruiting staff has done an excellent job in getting guys here. But it was extremely organized. Met a lot of guys, knew a lot of guys already, because recruiting has become so accelerated that we've seen these guys on campus over the past 6-7 months a lot. Some guys have been there 20 times. It was great. It was sort of a receiving line there early before the game, and probably before anybody got there. We saw a lot of the guys, a lot of the recruits. We had some official visits on campus, but I think the brand is strong right now. People want to come to Michigan State and be a part of this, and that's exciting.
Mark, speaking of players individually, Malik McDowell, when you talk about what you've seen from him from a year ago and the leap, I guess he's kind of made. It seems like the first 2 games he's really been a big factor inside there for the defense.
Yeah, I think he's growing up. I think he's still scratching the surface because he has tremendous ability. But you've seen him play 2 games and play very well in 2 games. And so he's growing up as a football player, and I think that's transferring to him as a person too. And that happens when you're a freshman. You're just trying to find your way, just trying to figure it out, both football-wise and off the field and everything else, academically. And as you get older, you start to grow, and you get stretched. You start to grow and develop, and I see that. And it goes beyond football too, because you've got to grow you start to grow into an adult a little bit. And I'm not talking about just him. I'm talking about our entire group of young people. You start to mature and understand that this is what you have to do to be successful. But he's had 2 very, very good football games.
You played 8 or 9 DBs. Was that just a calculated risk you took because you needed to have people fresh, or is that an indication of how close those players are?
We've got good players. We've got good players. Darian Hicks has started for us, and he was playing as a 2. Cox is playing as a 1. As a number 1. Obviously Copeland was playing as well. But Jermaine Edmondson's a guy that's been on the fringe, and he's playing. Arjun Calhoun has been on the fringe, and he's playing well. So, those guys, just, have the opportunity to get in there because of the reps and the numbers, but we feel very confident they know what to do and can play fast, and, they've got good ball skills and they could run and they're quick. So it was a necessity, but it was also something we didn't hesitate to do because they've been in the program, they know they're functional, they know what to do and how to do it, and can do it at a fast rate.
Coach, kind of a two-part converse question here. One, the offense it didn't finish that game with the 3 and outs. I know they've had some good numbers and some good moments and a lot of good play, but for whatever reason, they weren't able to answer and put Oregon away. And then conversely, what does it mean to that defense that they were able to put a stop and kind of maybe get some of that swagger back? Yeah,
I think for the defense, I think going in and getting it done at the end is a confidence booster. Finishing the game in that fashion is very positive. I thought Coach Barnett, Coach Tressel made a great call on the blitz, and it came clean, sacked them, made it 4th and 17, which is a difficult situation for them. But when you have success, your confidence grows, and not just as a player, but as a coach as well. And I think that's important to recognize. So there's proof. There's proof, and that's positive. And then as far as our offense, took a 5-yard loss on the one first play, that last drive, the drive before the last drive, and put us behind the ball a little bit, and I made the decision to throw it because we're going to play to win the football game at that point, and getting a first down is going to win the game. So, but we didn't hit him for whatever reason. A little low throw or a drop on a 50-50 catch, however you want to look at it. Ball sails on one, but I think our offense did enough to certainly score 31 points. Is doing enough to make it happen. So you always want to close it out. There is no perfect game, and you're always talking about what you could do differently and make it a little bit better. But they won the football game at the end. I thought they answered the bell. I thought they answered the bell time after time in the game offensively when something went down with the defense. Yeah, Chris.
You talked about Aaron Burbridge. Behind him, there's a few drops here and there. When you look at the depth chart, you got Felton Davis. What could he possibly bring? Is that part of the reason why he's up on the depth chart now?
Yeah, I think that Felton is very close to playing. And we didn't put him in the game last week, but I think he needs to play. I think he needs to play because of we're going to graduate seniors. So we need an experienced guy coming back that's played some football for us that'll help our depth. I also think he has talent. He's a big receiver. He's got good speed, good hands, and he knows our offense. He's learned our offense, so it doesn't have to be followed around by a coach. He's functional. So we're pushing to do that. Didn't happen on Saturday night. I thought it probably would, but it didn't. And I'm not going to push the envelope. Our coaches know who needs to get it done at this point in time, and I want them to feel comfortable with it. But I think he's on the depth chart because he works with our number 1 and 2 offense. So he's in the mix, and when it's time for him to play, he'll play. So he's not working on the scout team anymore, and so that's why he's on the depth chart. But I do think he's going to play.
Mark, you mentioned Craig Evans taking a step forward during your teleconference Sunday night. I wonder what you were most pleased with on Saturday and what's been key in that development.
I think Craig took a big step forward. He was quick-bodied on the field. You got to be quick. I don't care what position you play. You got to be quick-bodied. And, he moved his feet. He looked motivated. He controlled, as I said, one of the best things we did in the game on Saturday is where our defensive front built a wall. And our linebackers had the correct fits most of the time. And because of that, you didn't see the ball. Royce Freeman is an excellent back, and they run the football very, very well. So they out-formation just a couple times, but on simple, you got to beat us type things where we knew where the fits were and everything, we were firm. And I think our defensive line did a tremendous job. I think Craig went in there and played very, very well. And that was great to see because we have very high expectations for him. And again, another aspect of growth. He's a guy that we had great things great thoughts when we recruited him, and that needs to transfer to the field. It's a redshirt freshman.
Mark, are you leaning toward a red shirt now for Delton Williams, and would a position switch be possible in his future?
I don't know. I just know that when the time comes, Delton will play, but I'm not going to play him just to play him and take his redshirt years. He's capable of playing. We could put him on special teams, but I don't want to do that. If he's going to play, he's going to play at tailback right now. I don't think that a position switch is something that we could experiment right now with. I do think he's a good football player just in general. I think he's a good football player. He could play defense. He could play offense. So I don't know, but we haven't really thought in that direction. We've sort of thought in terms of okay, you're going to play when you're ready to play. You'll play, but you got to pass these other guys up. And those other guys have had 2 good games, really. I mean, when you look at it, they've played well. Are you good?
Ronnie Bullough says his Grandpa Henry's telling him players were tougher back in the day, but he's been pretty tough so far. Has he overachieved at all, or did you expect him to be this good this soon?
No, I think all the Bulloughs are overachievers, and that's my biggest compliment that I can give any of our players. I think they come to work every day, they practice like they play, they prepare off the field, they're students of the game, and they're going to play the game extremely hard and be competitive and not ever back down. And so he's right on line with the rest of them as far as I'm concerned. Right there, which is a huge compliment. I'm sorry?
Going back to Ron Burton, first of all, talk about what he's brought to your defensive line since he's come over from Air Force. And secondly, having the experience of defending that in practice at Air Force, the option, how important is that for you guys?
Well, Coach Burton's a high-energy guy. He's done a great job with their defensive line. We've built depth through recruiting. He's a very good recruiter. He's also a hands-on guy with our defensive line. And if you really look at it, the 3 years that he's been here are 3 of the most successful years we've had. We've lost 3 football games in 3 years. He's been tremendous for us for this football program. And then the second question was? From a practice standpoint, having gone against that. Yeah, and I already addressed that. I don't want to go back through it, but he brings the experience of having been there 11 years and understands their mindset, who they are as people, how they practice, their different dynamics offensively.
Just wonder, is this a pain? Is this a pain to play these guys, or is this fun for you?
Fun?
Huh? Is it fun or
option football?
Yeah, playing an offense like this.
They have great players. I'm telling you, what they do extremely well. Their fullback, number 3, EJ, is an outstanding player. He's going to run through you. They've got guys that can get to the edge. They may have lost their quarterback, so they'll deal with that, but they'll have somebody who's played before in that situation. I think their offensive line is experienced. And what they do from a formation standpoint and then the variations of option football is textbook. It's where people go to learn about option football. They go to Navy, they go to Georgia Tech, they go to Air Force. And so high school coaches all across the country who run this type of offense, that's where they go. That's where they go to find out exactly how it's done at the highest level. And, so we're going to play against that. So, yeah, it's fun. Thanks a lot, Coach. Yeah, thank you.